Have you ever looked at a jetliner and felt that unshakable pull, that urge to know every bolt, every curve, every story behind why it exists? If you have, you're in the right place. Because what's happening in the skies in 2026 isn't just about another plane. It's about a machine that's rewriting a chapter in aviation history.
The Boeing 737 MAX 10.
But before we get into the details, here's a promise. Stick with me till the end of this video and you'll walk away knowing things even seasoned aviation buffs might not have heard, the kind of insights you can drop in a hangar conversation and turn heads just as fast as this jet does on the runway. Now, let's start with a truth that airplane lovers understand better than anyone else. Not all planes are created equal. Some come and go quietly, blending into the background of airport ramps. Others, like the Concorde, the 747, the first 777, arrive and instantly take their place in the Aviation Hall of Fame. The 737 MAX 10? It's walking that same path, but in its own way. You see, the 737 family is no stranger to making headlines. From its first flight in 1967 to becoming the most produced commercial jet in history, the Boeing 737 has been a workhorse, carrying millions of passengers, crossing continents, connecting cities you've barely heard of. But history has also given it turbulence. The MAX series faced one of the darkest storms in aviation with the grounding of the fleet in 2019. That event didn't just test Boeing. It tested the faith of pilots, airlines, regulators, and passengers around the globe. And that's exactly why the 737 MAX 10's debut in 2026 is more than an aircraft rollout. It's a statement, a signal. Boeing isn't just delivering another model. It's stepping onto the tarmac saying, "We've listened. We've learned, we've built better." From a psychological perspective, moments like this are powerful. We're wired to pay attention to comebacks, to root for the story where someone, or in this case something, rises from adversity. It's the same pull that makes us watch a damaged race car return to the track and still finish the race. The MAX 10 is that comeback story in metal and composite. But why is it turning so many heads right now? Well, the MAX 10 isn't just an upgrade, it's a stretch. Quite literally. It's the largest member of the MAX family, extending the fuselage to accommodate up to around 230 passengers. In aviation, that's a big deal, because with size comes efficiency, and with efficiency comes profitability. And in the competitive single-aisle market, size plus range equals dominance. Still, the fascination isn't just about numbers on a spec sheet. It's about what that size means for the experience. Imagine boarding a single-aisle jet that doesn't feel cramped, that feels bigger. The MAX 10 offers a psychological edge here. When passengers feel less boxed in, they're more likely to perceive the flight as comfortable, even if the actual seat width hasn't changed much. That matters in customer satisfaction scores, and airlines know it. Now let's be honest, the 737 design is old, very old. Its core airframe DNA has been around for decades. And yet, there's something irresistibly impressive about watching Boeing push that original design to new limits without breaking its essence. It's like seeing a classic sports car rebuilt with a modern engine, familiar lines, new heartbeat. What's even more interesting is how this jet fits into the 2026 aviation landscape. The Airbus A321XLR has been making waves, promising longer ranges and higher efficiency in the same single-aisle category. Boeing needed an answer, not just to keep up, but to stay in the conversation with airlines making billion-dollar fleet decisions. The MAX 10 is their answer, tailored to compete head-to-head and say, "We're still here, and we're still building the jets you want." And here's the part aviation fans love. Every rivet and contour on the MAX 10 has a purpose. The longer fuselage isn't just slapped on, it's paired with modified landing gear to ensure proper rotation on takeoff and prevent tail strikes. The CFM LEAP 1 billion engines aren't just fuel savers, they're designed to reduce noise, a feature that's as much about passenger comfort as it is about meeting stricter airport regulations. Every design choice reflects lessons learned and lessons remembered. This is also where psychology kicks in again. When an aircraft carries visible signs of improvement, it sends a subconscious reassurance to those who board it. Pilots know it, passengers feel it. Even if most can't name the engineering changes, they pick up on the confidence it radiates. And confidence in aviation is everything. So, as we stand here in 2026, watching the MAX 10 roll out of hangars, taxiways, and into service schedules, what we're seeing is not just a plane, but the culmination of decades of engineering evolution, crisis management, and competitive pressure. By the time we're done with this video, you'll see why airline CEOs are putting their bets on it, why pilots are eager to fly it, and why passengers might soon be asking for it by name. And if you've ever been the person at the window seat, eyes locked on the wing, calculating climb rates in your head, well, you're about to have some new numbers to work with. So stay tuned, because what's coming next isn't just a walk through the tech specs. It's the story of how the MAX 10 became the plane everyone's talking about in 2026, and why it might just change the way you think about single-aisle travel forever. When you look at the Boeing 737 MAX 10 for the first time, it doesn't scream for attention with wild curves or an exotic double-deck design. Yet, the longer you study it, the more you see, and for aviation enthusiasts, that's where the real magic lies. Every centimeter, every contour, every structural decision tells the story of how a half-century-old airframe evolved into something that fits the demands of a new era. The journey starts with lineage. The original Boeing 737 took flight in 1967, designed as a short-to-haul workhorse. Over the decades, it grew longer, faster, more efficient. The -200, the Classic Series, the next-generation models, each pushed the design envelope. And now, the MAX series stands as the fourth generation. The MAX 10 is not a fresh sheet of paper. It's the ultimate refinement of a proven platform. This is not reinvention, it's evolution with purpose. The first thing that strikes you is the fuselage. At 143 feet 8 inches, the MAX 10 is the longest 737 ever built. That extra length isn't cosmetic, it's about capacity. Airlines can seat roughly 230 passengers on this jet, depending on the configuration. That's nearly 20 more than the MAX 9. For airlines, more seats mean more revenue per flight without adding more pilots or more fuel than necessary. A psychological win for airline executives constantly balancing efficiency with profit margins. But adding length to a plane isn't as simple as welding on extra metal. It changes everything. The center of gravity, the takeoff rotation angle, even the way the aircraft lands. To handle this, Boeing introduced a clever piece of engineering, a semi-levered landing gear system. This allows the nose to lift at takeoff without the tail striking the runway. To aviation lovers, this kind of engineering isn't just functional. It's the invisible art that keeps the machine both safe and elegant. Moving further along the airframe, the aerodynamic tweaks are subtle yet significant. The MAX series features advanced technology winglets, shaped like a split scimitar. These reduce drag, improve lift, and save fuel. Small percentages that, over thousands of flights, mean millions of dollars saved and thousands of tons of carbon dioxide not emitted. For eco-conscious passengers, even if they never see a fuel burn report, flying on a quieter, cleaner plane adds a layer of satisfaction. Psychology plays a role here. People trust and feel better about companies that demonstrate efficiency and responsibility. The heart of the MAX 10, the CFM International LEAP 1 billion engines, represents a leap forward. Quite literally, larger fan diameters, composite fan blades, and advanced noise reduction chevrons give the plane its distinctive look and sound. The quieter takeoff isn't just a nice touch, it's the difference between being a welcome neighbor near city airports and being the source of noise complaints. Passengers subconsciously associate a quieter cabin with a smoother ride, even when turbulence says otherwise. Inside, Boeing has worked on creating a cabin experience that competes with the Airbus A321XLR, its main rival. The Sky interior, with sculpted sidewalls, larger overhead bins, and LED lighting that shifts color temperature depending on the phase of flight, is designed to make the space feel larger and calmer. There's psychology at work again. Warm lighting at boarding reduces stress, cooler lighting at cruise keeps passengers alert, and soft tones before landing ease the transition. The cabin isn't just a tube of seats, it's a controlled environment aimed at making hours in the air feel shorter. Safety, the shadow that followed the MAX series after 2019, is the unspoken backbone of the MAX 10's design. Boeing had to regain trust not with promises, but with visible, tested changes. The flight control software, MCAS, has been redesigned with multiple redundancies. Pilots now have more direct control authority, and the systems are monitored by enhanced sensors. These changes might be invisible to the average traveler, but they're deeply reassuring to pilots. And for enthusiasts, it's proof that the aircraft's safety culture has matured. Another fascinating design element lies in how the MAX 10 balances modern demands with airport compatibility. Despite its size, it still fits into the same airport gates as smaller 737 models. This means airlines can upgrade routes without changing infrastructure. For those who love the business side of aviation, this is strategic genius. An aircraft that delivers more without costing more in ground operations. There's also the matter of range. While it can't match the extreme distances of the Airbus A321XLR, the MAX 10 offers enough reach too. cover transcontinental U.S. flights, most of Europe to Middle East routes, and a large share of Asia-Pacific services. That's a sweet spot where most passenger demand lives. From a psychological standpoint, this range puts the MAX 10 in a category where it can connect high-density city pairs directly, bypassing hubs, a model travelers increasingly prefer. The MAX 10's systems have been tuned for operational efficiency too. Maintenance intervals are longer, and the digital health monitoring systems give airlines real-time updates on component status. This means fewer unscheduled groundings, more consistent schedules, and for passengers, fewer frustrating delays. People may not think about aircraft maintenance, but they feel its effects every time their flight leaves on time. In the world of aviation design, every change is a compromise. Longer fuselage can mean slower climb rates, larger engines can mean higher drag. The artistry lies in balancing these factors so that the result feels seamless to the passenger and efficient to the airline. The MAX 10 is a showcase of that balancing act. When you take all these elements, the stretched fuselage, the re-engineered landing gear, the aerodynamic improvements, the advanced engines, the refined cabin, the safety upgrades, what you have is not just a bigger 737. You have a machine that's been shaped by history, competition, economics, and above all, by the lessons of experience. Its evolution written in aluminum and composite, polished by the relentless pressure of an industry where margins are thin and expectations are sky high. And perhaps that's the real reason it's turning heads. Because to those who know aircraft, the MAX 10 isn't loud about its greatness. It doesn't need to be. The details speak for themselves, and in aviation, details are everything. Airlines don't choose a new aircraft on a whim. Every order represents years of analysis, negotiations, and strategic forecasting. When they sign for dozens, sometimes hundreds, of a single model, it means that airplane promises to deliver on the three things airlines value most: efficiency, reliability, and market appeal. The Boeing 737 MAX 10 has managed to check those boxes so convincingly that it has already secured a place in the fleets of some of the world's biggest carriers. The logic begins with economics. In commercial aviation, the term cost per seat mile is more than just a number, it's the heartbeat of profitability. Airlines calculate it relentlessly. The MAX 10's larger seating capacity, paired with the fuel efficiency of the LEAP 1 billion engines, gives it one of the lowest cost per seat mile figures in its class. That means an airline can move more passengers for the same amount of fuel, maintenance, and crew cost. Over the course of a year, on high-frequency routes, those savings can translate into tens of millions of dollars. To an airline CEO, that's not just appealing, it's irresistible. But numbers alone don't tell the whole story. There's a psychological dimension to fleet decisions too. Airlines want aircraft that not only save money but also inspire confidence from passengers. After the grounding of the MAX family, Boeing had to convince airlines that the MAX 10 was not just safe, but desirable. They did this by opening up testing processes, inviting regulators, pilots, and even airline representatives to witness and participate in verification flights. Transparency became part of the sales pitch. United Airlines stands out as one of the strongest believers in the MAX 10, with hundreds on order.
For a carrier of that size, the decision is as much about branding as it is about balance sheets.
Introducing a new flagship single-aisle jet tells customers, we're modern, we're efficient, and we're investing in your comfort. For passengers, boarding a newer, quieter jet subconsciously raises the perception of quality, even before they've taken off. Competition also plays a central role. The Airbus A321XLR has been stealing headlines with its long-range capabilities and versatility. Airlines that lean heavily on Airbus products can deploy the XLR for transatlantic flights and thin long-haul routes. For Boeing-loyal carriers, the MAX 10 provides a counterbalance. It may not match the XLR's extreme range, but on the dense medium-haul routes where passenger volume is king, the MAX 10 can outperform in pure economics. That's why so many airlines see it as a fleet backbone rather than a niche machine. For low-cost carriers, the appeal is different but equally compelling. More seats mean more revenue per flight, and when your business model revolves around high-frequency, high-density routes, the ability to spread operational costs across more passengers is a direct boost to profitability. A longer fuselage and more efficient engines give them the competitive edge to keep ticket prices low while maintaining margins. It's the classic psychology of perceived value. Passengers feel like they're getting a deal while the airline is quietly improving its bottom line. Pilots have their own reasons for embracing the MAX 10. While it offers more capacity, it still falls under the same type rating as other 737 MAX models. That means a pilot certified on a MAX 8 can transition to a MAX 10 without expensive, time-consuming retraining. Airlines save on training costs, and pilots appreciate the continuity of cockpit layout, systems, and handling characteristics. In an industry where time on type can define a career, familiarity is a powerful selling point. Operational flexibility is another factor that makes airlines commit. The MAX 10 can serve busy trunk routes in the morning, cross-country flights in the afternoon, and still be back for another high-density run in the evening. It doesn't need specialized gates or unique ground equipment. That kind of versatility reduces logistical complexity, a hidden cost that airlines are always looking to cut. Passenger psychology plays into the airline decision as well. In surveys, travelers consistently rate cabin noise, lighting, and perceived space as major factors in their comfort level. The MAX 10's sky interior and quieter cabin environment help boost those satisfaction scores. Higher scores translate into repeat business, especially for premium passengers who have multiple carrier options. In the ultra-competitive air travel market, loyalty is often won or lost on these small but meaningful details. Boeing also understands that in the modern aviation market, sustainability isn't just an environmental goal, it's a marketing weapon. The LEAP 1 billion engines deliver double-digit fuel burn reductions compared to older 737 models, and that efficiency means lower carbon emissions per passenger. Airlines can and do use those figures in their advertising, appealing to eco-conscious travelers who want to believe their choices make a difference. Psychologically, it turns an abstract engineering achievement into a personal contribution for the passenger. Then there's the matter of delivery timelines. Many airlines need new aircraft urgently to replace aging fleets and meet post-pandemic travel demand. The MAX 10's place in Boeing's production schedule allows carriers to plan expansions and retirements in a predictable way. In the high-stakes world of fleet management, predictability is a currency in itself. The orders speak volumes. Between legacy carriers, low-cost operators, and emerging market airlines, the MAX 10 has attracted commitments in the hundreds. This level of early adoption is a clear indicator of industry confidence. Even airlines with mixed Boeing-Airbus fleets see value in the MAX 10's role as a capacity booster and workhorse for medium-haul operations. In many ways, the MAX 10's success with airlines comes down to trust, not just in Boeing as a manufacturer, but in the aircraft's ability to perform exactly as promised, day after day, for decades. The aviation industry is slow to forgive, but it's even slower to bet on unproven designs. That so many carriers have made the MAX 10% a cornerstone of their future fleet says more than any press release ever could. When all these factors combine, the economic efficiency, the operational flexibility, the competitive positioning, the pilot familiarity, and the passenger appeal, it's easy to see why airlines are betting big. They're not just buying an aircraft, they're buying a promise of stability, growth, and competitive advantage in a market that changes by the minute. The arrival of the Boeing 737 MAX 10 in active service is more than just an addition to an airline's fleet. It's a signpost for where commercial aviation is headed over the next decade. The way this aircraft is designed, the routes it enables, and the competitive dynamics it triggers will all shape how passengers experience air travel in the years ahead. One of the biggest shifts is in route planning. For decades, long-haul travel was built on the hub-and-spoke model. Passengers flew into massive airports like Heathrow, JFK, or Dubai, and then connected to their final destination. But the MAX 10 belongs to a new generation of single-aisle aircraft capable of flying farther, carrying more people, and doing it efficiently enough to make point-to-point travel viable. This means that instead of changing planes at a hub, you might fly directly from a mid-sized city to your destination. Airlines save on the cost and complexity of connections, and passengers save hours of travel time. Psychologically, this matters more than it seems. Time is the most precious commodity for travelers, and direct flights reduce one of the biggest pain points in flying: layovers. When people can get where they're going faster, with fewer disruptions, their perception of the airline improves dramatically. That's brand loyalty built not through flashy advertising, but through practical experience. There's also the matter of passenger comfort. The MAX 10's cabin may be a single aisle, but the longer fuselage gives airlines flexibility in layout. Some carriers may opt for higher density seating to maximize revenue, while others could use the extra space to add more legroom in premium economy or upgrade in-flight amenities. Regardless of configuration, passengers benefit from the quieter LEAP 1 billion engines, improved pressurization systems, and LED lighting that eases fatigue on longer journeys. Subtle details, like a cabin that feels fresher or a landing that feels smoother, create a lasting emotional memory, even if travelers can't pinpoint why. From an industry perspective, the MAX 10 is also a test of Boeing's resilience. The company has faced intense scrutiny since the grounding of the MAX family. Delivering an aircraft that consistently meets performance promises will not only restore Boeing's reputation, but also signal to airlines that the manufacturer is ready to compete on equal footing with Airbus again. In the competitive landscape, perception is power. When Boeing shows it can deliver, it shifts the narrative from recovery to leadership.